Welcome to Hobby Shop 1983, presented by Page 121. All of us here at Page 120 are really excited, and by that, of course, I mean me. 1983 was a booming year for the gaming industry. It was a booming year for the video game industry, although the collapse of both was very close. But specifically, D&D, about at its peak, or still coming off its peak, in 1983. I know it was still really important in my circle of friends. I was an active member in a club that met once a month. I ran a couple of different campaigns at the time and played a lot of D&D in 1983. So today we're going to take a look at an offering that came out in 83, Monster Manual 2. This is the first monster book we got since Fiend Folio in 1981. So we were hungry for new monsters, and the monsters were hungry for our characters. So we're going to take a look at the what we've got in this book and why it was a seminal moment in AD&D history as far as I'm concerned. Very important book to me. Also, this book came out roughly a month before the advent of the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon. So, you're walking into the hobby store, you're looking at the stuff on the shelf, and you see this beauty sitting on the shelves waiting for you to pick it up. You scramble into your pocket to make sure you have I believe it was $12 to pay for this guy, and you scuttle on out ready to go home and read it. That's exactly how I did it. The only difference was I knew this was coming. I was friendly with one of the game stores around here. I played there in the store itself, and I was kind of friendly with a few of the employees. So I had advance notice this was coming and when to look for it. I had a copy on reserve for me. Still a very exciting time. So we're going to go back to 1983 when Mappy was a thing. Dragon's Lair was just coming out, the first real quarter-munching video game, and Monster Manual 2 was out. The Monster Manual 2 released in the summer of 1983. I think this was released just in time for Gen Con. Take a look at the front and the back. This is a pretty book. I enjoyed this book a lot. Very excited that I knew it was coming out. There's my personal stamp from back in the days when I was in that club and we stamped all our books so nobody got them stolen. It's an alphabetical listing of monsters found in AD&D adventures, including attacks, damage, special abilities, descriptions, and random encounters. Credited to Gary Gygax. I always found it amazing that these books were credited entirely to Gary Gygax when, of course, all of these books were the end result of many people's efforts and ideas. I don't know if TSR felt that Gary's name was what sold it to us, or if Gary was just trying to take credit for everything. I really don't know. I'm not going to go into that. I know in the summer of 83, I was really excited about getting my hands on this. Here we get the preface with the acknowledgments. Special thanks to the following people. And how to use this book with all the different, what everything means. One thing I did like is that it took from the Deities and Demigods, it gave us all the strength and bonuses from 19 through 25, intelligence, dexterity, constitution. We got a lot of information that was only available to that point in the Deities and Demigods. That was added here. And then we start off by one of my absolute favorite monsters of all time, the Aboleth. The Aboleth are going to have their own video coming soon. I absolutely love these guys. Craig and I both love the Aboleths. When neither one of us runs, there's a chance they're going to come in. Just all kinds of stuff. We have, it was a giant fish, an Afank. I don't think I've ever used that guy. We have beneficial spirits, Agathions. No picture because they're just spirits. They can take material form as desired, and then they just appear as a human or whatever. They could also be Lamasu, Shaduk, Unicorn, etc. Anis, hags. Yes, more hags. I love that they expanded on hags in this book. We got a couple of different flavors of hags. Hags, again, some of my favorite monsters. Antlion, Asimoid, Aspies. We had met a few of these already in other modules, but it was nice to have them put together under one cover. The Atomy, the Arumvarax. Yeah, I'll be doing a video on him. Azer, we got different types of genie. These are a race that goes from the plane of fire. Baku, which is a good elephant-looking kind of thing. I always thought this was taken from Conan short story, The Tower of the Elephant. A Banderlog, a Barghest. Barghests are nasty. Just a lot of fun in this book. I remember just sitting down and just devouring this as fast as I could so that I could have it ready to play in the game. I think I was running a game the night I bought this. So I went through and I just looked at a couple pictures and said, okay, you're in the game. Okay, you're in the... And I picked out 5 or 6, and it was a real treat to have monsters in the game that my players had no idea, had never heard of. I was the first one to run a game after we got this book, and I got to introduce all these new monsters. Only one of my players had actually even bought this book, and he came straight from work. He got the book on the way. He had not had a chance to page through it. So we get the Death Watch Beetle and the Slicer Beetle. Yes, I had a character and lose an arm to a Slicer Beetle over the years. The Behemoth, the Behir. I love Behirs. Use those a lot. Boalisk, Bodax are nasty. Boggarts. Just all kinds of fun things. I love this book. The Cat Lord. He was just a minor entry here, but he'd go on to be a very serious character in the Gord the Rogue series, starting while Gygax was still at TSR and finishing up in '89 when it was Tri-G Enterprises publishing the novels. So if you've read the Gord the Rogue books, or if you want to watch my videos on them, I've done 7 or 8 videos on the Gord the Rogue books over the years. Just go ahead and take a look. They're pretty early videos all the way up to less than a year ago to finish up the series. But yeah, take a look at those. And if you I recommend these books highly. They're hard to find now and unfortunately expensive, but I've found some at half price now and again. So I do recommend them if you get your chance. The Gord the Rogue series. Cat Lord is very important in there. We had gotten a lot of these monsters from different modules over the years, as well as Dragon articles from the Sorcerer's Scroll. Gary would give us little peeks at different monsters and things like that. And I always thought that was a way of playtesting some of the stuff too, but I didn't mind it, because if I saw a new monster in the Dragon and there was a chance I had to incorporate it, I would. If you've been following my series of Dragon magazines on the 40th anniversary of their release, you'll see that a lot of these monsters had already appeared there. The Cave Fisher, I use him all the time. Cave Morays are nasty. Cloakers. I'm not going to name every single monster in here. I am going to talk a little bit about, these are pronounced, it's demon, but it's daemon. We called them daemons to differentiate. So we got a new type of nether plane creatures, lots of them. The Ultra Daemon, really nasty. Deo, another type of genie. Demodans. These guys are the chaotic evil, and they live in Tartarus, the plains of Tartarus. So we got some Demodans. Then we got demons, long before there were Tanari. Barlaguras, I use those all the time. Cambions, of course, I use as a Cambion. Grozd, I use as Daddy. We got his stats in here. A lot of the stuff that appears in the Gord the Rogue novels and in a lot of Gary Gygax's novels or modules popped up here for the first time with full stats. Divas, basically good creatures from the other planes. Devils, long before they were Batazu and that whole second edition stuff. Dinosaurs, lots and lots of dinosaurs. I've actually run Land of the Lost, basically. It's based more on Marvel's Savage Land than anything else. There's an actual portal in, I think it's northeastern Furiandi. There's an actual cave that has a portal to this land of dinosaurs. And I've run many, many groups through there. Dracolisk. Oh, man. New dragon types were always welcome. Very excited to get them. The Shadow Dragon's nasty. He drains energy levels. Dragon Horse. Driders. We actually had references to Driders. Now we have stats for Driders in a nice hardback book. I think these were statted in the under the city, the D1 through 3. I think the Driders were statted there. Duergar. Nasty. A couple of new types of elves. The Grugach and the Valley Elf. Like totally man. All kinds of fun things. Froghemoths. I love Froghemoths. This is another one that if Craig or I run, Froghemoths tend to pop up now and again. They're just a lot of fun. More giant types. The Fomorian, the Firbolg, the Verbig. We got the Gibbering Mouther. A Green Hag. The Gorgamira. All kinds of stuff. Elemental Grews. These are good lower hit dice evil things to fight. Getting into the H, the Hollyphant, Hordlings, used Hordlings many times. The Jan, another type of genie. Only a few in the Ks. We have the Greater Lamassu. This is just a really fun book. The Margoyle, he'd been in another module, but I was delighted to have all this stuff here, where I could just look it up alphabetically. The Merid, a Water Genie. Just so much fun to have this together. Modrones. I've only used Modrones once or twice. I like them well enough, but it seemed to me that you have to be doing kind of a bigger, more sweeping campaign to really do much with the Modrones. I've just never done that big a campaign, but I have had them pop in here and there in various dungeon puzzles and things. They're very good for dungeon puzzles. A lot of Modrones here. Gary was very excited about these guys for a while. Molds. Russet Mold, Mongrel Man, the Moondog. I love Moondogs. They're good guys. They show up, they lick your wounds, and they heal them, among other things. Myconid, the Fungus Man, Nereid. I've used a lot of those. As I say, not everything was original to this. Obliviax, Memory Moss. I just used some of that in a game I did not too long ago. That was a lot of fun. Not all of this was new to us, but a lot of it was clarified and cleaned up. And again, all under one cover that we could just take. I didn't have to carry individual modules or issues of the dragon around, which was great. We got an introduction to para-elementals, the Peck. We got Planetars, the Phoenix. I never understood why Phoenix wasn't in AD&D earlier than that. Quasi-elementals. We got the quasi-elemental lightning. We've got the Quickling, giving the Vulcan salute. I did the profile of the Quickling a week or two ago. And up into the R's, we got Rats, S's, Sandlings, Sulkies. The Shade. Shades were big. They were a literal game changer for us. I've used them as NPC bad guys. I had, through circumstances, one of Craig's characters turn into a Shade, and he still is. He's still active in our campaign as a Shade. I've done some interesting stories where he can't enter certain holy places, or he was summoned one time just as another planar creature. He was really summoned into a binding circle and things like that. A lot of fun to be had there. Sirens, the Solar. These are nasty. These, if you want to end a campaign, you're tired of your players walking all over stuff, just stick in a Solar. He'll clean it up for you. Spriggans, I love. I use Spriggans, they grow. Stego Centipede, those are nasty. I've used them too. Stench Cow, Stone Guardians. Stow Ropers, one of my favorites, right there with the Roper. Stanley. The Tarrasque, the terrible Tarrasque. Yep, we got it from this book. It's the first time I remember seeing him. I like the Tarrasque, and of course, not too long after I got this book, there was a Tarrasque running on my table. Thessal Hydra. Thunder Beast, Thunder Herder, Time Elemental. I've used some of these. You've got to be careful with Time Elementals. They can really upend your campaign easily. Let's see. Vegapygmies, Vultures, Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. This is an interesting one. It looks like a little rabbit on a stump, but it's really this nasty creature with the stump as a maw. Wemmicks are interesting. Tenebrous Worms are good. Tunnel Worms are good. Zarin. Yethhounds are really nasty. Don't underestimate how powerful these things can be. Yuan Ti. I was in, as a player, an entire Yuan Ti campaign that went about a year. That was a lot of fun. One of the last long campaigns that I was a player in. This was in the late 80s. And I've only played individual games that tie into our greater campaign since then. Usually I'm an almost forever DM these days, but the Yuan Ti campaign still looms large in my mind. The DM of that left our group, and unfortunately I've learned since has passed away. The Yachlal, the Handmaiden of Lalth, Juju Zombies, Zombie Monsters, Zorbos, a lot of Zorbo the Greek jokes there, Zygons, and then random monster encounter tables updated with the monsters in this book. I like this. I used to sit with these tables and just throw some dice and see what I got, or just go down the list and see what it was interesting, what wasn't. I was never a slave to these lists, but I always appreciated them. And then we had the monster summoning as well. So monster summoning has never been a real big thing at our table. But here's the monster summoning list that's dealing with with the creatures in this book. So that's pretty interesting. The monsters by type and terrain. Just some nice appendices. This book added a lot to our table. I loved getting this thing. I loved having it. Still do. I use this book all the time. And there's the index of monsters. Love a good index in a book. And then we're out. I want to say this guy was $12, although it could have been $15. I don't honestly remember, and I don't see a price anywhere on this guy. I would have to look that up. It was $12 or $15, I know that. At a time in 1983 when I was making about $3 an hour, that was not an inconsequential dollar amount. Also considering the video game addiction I was supporting and comic books. There was a lot of strain on the old cash. So there you have it. Monster Manual 2 for Hobby Shop 1983. You're so glad you grabbed this guy off the shelf, paid, and went home and read it, and added it to your game. And that's it for today on Hobby Shop 1983. I'll see you next time for a new edition. Thanks for watching.